游戏早就是我生活的一部分了。
All business in game, and this guy is, I think, an incredible competitor. He likes pushing himself to the edge of his capabilities.
因为职业选手嘛，大多数时间都是在打比赛，所以说肯定要牺牲和家人啊、和朋友相聚的时间嘛。
He is just gonna continue to try to fight. He's someone that keeps going. Like he will never stop until he has hit the pinnacle of what he can achieve.
북미에서 탑루시안이 개 사기라는데 훈이가 탑루시안 탑그룹 준결승이랑 결승 그것만 준비하는 해야만 한다라는 그런 마인드라서 다들 더 열심히 하는 것 같아요. 작년보다 내가 재능이 있구나, 내가 이러다 보면 최고가 될 수도 있겠구나. 경기 어떻게 보시나요? 아니 보세요. 보시면 알 거 아니에요.
谢谢各位现场的朋友以及我们电脑面前的召唤师们，大家下午好！这里是我们 LPL 春季联赛常规赛第9周的比赛现场。
意大利르블랑 파울
罗比签约，
그럼 11일 먹죠.
给这边不然我们难受了。其实这场比赛的话，其实还是挺重要的，因为他们现在是小组第一，我们现在是小组第二，所以说我们要抢到小组第一这个位置，就必须得去击败他。如果压力越大，我的动力越大，然后就是让我变得更好、更强。
My expectations going into Season 5 Worlds were just to perform better than Season 4 Worlds. I think in general actually during Season 4 Worlds I kind of underperformed as an individual, so I wanted to avoid that during the Season 5 Worlds journey. So I just accepted how things were working during the regular season and why we went 18-0 and why I was a part of that. And I just tried to trust myself, I guess, and trust my teammates.
From the mid-season invitational on is when you began to feel it. Just that belief of this is probably the best iteration of a Western team that we are going to see for a long time, and this is a team that could do it, which I think is why it was all the more disappointing that in the semifinals versus the Ku Tigers, and they didn't, and it kind of felt like something was lost there.
When Huni, Rainover and Bora left last year, I was really sad because I felt like if this team would continue and have another year of practicing together, we would probably make it further than just top 4 at Worlds.
Yeah, it felt pretty weird that the team suddenly broke up.
At the beginning of the year, I decided to try to play in North America. I mainly wanted to discover new things, something new.
When the players left after Worlds, we had to take more responsibility, me and Martin, for the team. And he tried to fill EULCS role, even though it's not good for his role because he is an AD carry and he should be the one not talking that much and focus like on the small things.
Ja, när Martin fick sköta det med lagkaptensrollen och allt det runt omkring. Jag tror Martin var lite ovan för det i början. Det är mycket att tänka på och sådär, så han tappar ju lite av sitt normala spelande egentligen.
Going into the split, it was really tough for me to make the transition to both the shot caller and both to be the leader. But it also means I have to be able to play as good as the others, right? And I feel like ever since season 4, I haven't really been getting that much better. I've kind of stayed reliable and I've stayed stable. But there's players that consistently are growing, and I need to be able to latch onto that as well. I guess that's just like an eternal fight with yourself anyways.
Ska vi sätta oss i soffan eller? Det kanske är lättare. Jag vet inte vad allt detta är ens. Men det kanske du vet bättre än vad jag gör. Det är inte mycket till hårt som man hade på den tiden.
Nej, men inte alls det lite. Nej. Här är blåa märke i pannan. Vad har du hittat på där då?
Ni har tappat tänderna.
I don't remember what game. Some learning game.
I was less than 2 though, I think. That time.
Titta vad stolt du var. Var det kalas igen? Lite trött kille.
I mean, back then I was like the biggest Zelda fan I had. And I had a poster on the wall, I had a guidebook, and I just kept playing the game over and over. And I guess
I don't remember if it's 5 or 6 years.
I think
6 years, yeah.
Okay, this is
practice prize for, I guess, most attended practices out of all the members in the team, which I'm pretty proud of because it means dedication and means hard work. Matter of fact, this is a badminton prize. When I played that for a year or 2 together with my dad, there was a lot of indoor tournaments back in the day, which I guess we were quite fond of attending.
Yeah, you played a lot of different sports.
Yeah. Good memories.
When Martin first entered the scene, we have to go back to season 2. This is the early days of League of Legends. There was no LCS. There was a lot of rampant international tournaments, very few stable rosters, and he was a very strong mechanical player and just showed a mastery of AD carry.
Rekkles, as a player, when he came into the LCS and when he came into professional play, was seen as one of the first true carries.
When I grew up, I was living in a very small city. I guess the best saying for it is that everyone knows everyone. So when I moved away from that and I moved to Cologne first before LCS moved to Berlin, it was a tough step, but I guess starting off the whole thing with experienced players such as Expeke, it was an easy task for me because they kind of guided me through both the competitive scene and life in general.
He was 16 at that time, and it was really cool because he was like super excited, and on our way he was happy to play with us, and things were going super good. So the mood on the team was like perfect. We were having fun all the times. We were playing great together, so it was even easier to connect.
He was one of the first talents that came from a young age into a scene that was growing, obviously, who already had some teams there like Fnatic, who were known names and professional players. He was the first of the new young guys who kind of came in and joined the old guys.
När Martin började spela League of Legends så visste inte vi att han var den yngsta spelaren. Hade ingen aning. Det var väl först när det kom på tal det här att han inte fick fortsätta professionellt för att han var för ung som vi förstod att
I cast Rekkles in Challenger events where he was on, I think, Copenhagen Wolves, wearing a Fnatic jersey. Fnatic had him, right? And everyone knew it, and everyone knew he was going to be joining Fnatic. When he turned 17, he was going to be on that team, and he was this like super hyped 16-year-old Swedish AD carry that we were all waiting to see in action in the LCS.
I would say he was seen as someone who had extraordinary talent, was naturally gifted, so to say.
I didn't really feel like a wonder kid. Things just went super well and they allowed me to continue playing with them.
Suddenly you see a new player, like a really young player that you've never seen before, and he's performing like crazy, and you're like, what? He's so young and he's able to compete with the best players at that time.
I would say yes, I feel in debt to Peke for the opportunity to start off my career. I think that I owe him and Fnatic a thing or two. Our 2014 season was pretty good, but when it came to like the big international events like All-Stars, Paris and Worlds 2014, we weren't up there. We weren't good enough, unfortunately.
Peke's there. Here comes Cyanide as well on the end. They're focused on the Guardian Angel Lasagnas. Can Cyanide slip in as the spider has this one? Will they be able to get it? Peke up from the Guardian Angel. A few more hits. Will this really happen? No. They did it! Oh my God! They did it!
I just don't really know what to add at this point. One auto attack away from winning the game. Look at Rekkles.
How many times?
Absolutely crushed by that.
How many times is Fnatic going to watch that VOD?
När de då förlorade en sån tuff match på det sättet de förlorade och såg hur känslosam Martin blev efter den förlusten.
If you have this personality of wanting to win, it's definitely hard whenever you do take a loss. Because you know how much you work to be the best, you know how much you want to win.
His goal was more of we have to win, and our goal was more of we are here to have fun and win. And I think sometimes that was hard because you could feel that he was really maybe not enjoying it or getting frustrated.
The way Martin was seeing work was more like, let's try to play as much as we can and improve our synergy, our communication and everything. But it was not the case for everyone else because he was like literally playing 12 hours straight, which is something that not everyone can do.
I think the reason why my dedication was so overly high is because everything I had in life was League of Legends, and I guess I couldn't just accept being average or not being the best.
I think Martin's biggest challenge has always just been himself, whether it's time when he had to go to the Challenger League, get back into the LCS. He's very driven. If things don't go exactly how he has it planned in his head, it may affect the team environment.
Rekkles had higher hopes. Rekkles wanted to go further, and I think in the end he felt like he wouldn't be able to do that with the teammates and on the team that he was in Fnatic.
Martin left and he just wanted to change the scenery, check out if the grass was greener.
If there was a shot that he could do better with that other lineup that was the super team, then he had to go for it.
I don't really think the haters came around until I left Fnatic back in end of season 4 and I joined Elements. Dealing with all the haters at the time, I think that was a mistake of my own because I didn't handle my social media as good as I should have.
Look how happy they are in Elements, just sitting down there realizing they are this game in the bag.
I think he wasn't very aligned with what was happening and going on in Elements, and he felt a little sad. And that's honestly when you start appreciating some of the things you may have not appreciated at the start in Fnatic, which has always been infrastructure.
Testa på dem, men det visar ju sig att det inte var rätt. Fnatic är där han hör hemma.
I guess I missed things in Fnatic, the organization itself, how things were ran and how well we aligned with one another. But I think in general Fnatic is just a very caring place, and it just always felt like I got like another family. I wouldn't say leaving again is something that I plan on doing. I think I'll gladly continue my career here and end it, but when that is, that's a very hard thing to tell.
Fnatic in Spring Split definitely disappointed to an extent. They had a very mediocre season.
This will be the upset against Fnatic. The team isn't quite there yet.
And that's why it's so strange, because you always expect Fnatic to do well. You ignore the players on the team, you just look at Fnatic and you say, this team is supposed to always make the final.
But still, Fnatic being on the back foot, the decision-making has been definitely not what we're used to when it comes to Fnatic. Elements punished them at every single turn. They were just crushing them in teamfights again and again and again.
Fördelen för Martin då när han växte upp då, det var att han lärde sig mycket av sina misstag då, eller när de började med sin idrott och sånt, att ibland så fick man ju lite pisk och så vidare, och då kom man lärde sig av misstagen själv och gick vidare på det då.
I think one thing that is really important to Rekkles is his family. Whenever he had a rough time, he would call his mother every week on Skype, type to his sister, and they seem very close. And I think that's something I like a lot, that the family supports a player.
Usually when I come home to visit Sweden, I try to spend as much time together with my family as possible. If it's shopping with my sister, or if it's hanging out with my mom, or meeting my dad, it's all great fun, because I don't think I spend too many weeks at home during the year, so whenever I do come home, I try to make the most out of it.
Ska du träffa hon något mer?
Hon som jag snackade med förut. Jag funderade faktiskt på att bjuda hit henne.
I would describe him just like nice guy and handsome. I really think that like when I see his face, actually he's like really handsome and like, and then he doesn't, and then he keeps saying like he's not, I'm not handsome that much, guys, like something, but I think he knows that himself is actually handsome. I assume that, but I think he's really handsome actually.
Rekkles 선수 정말 잘생긴 것 같아요.
Idag är han verkligen en av mina närmsta vänner. Vi kan prata om allt tillsammans. Har han tjejproblem, då ringer han mig. Har han problem med känslor inför en kommande match, då ringer han också mig eller mamma.
När Martin blev professionell och skulle flytta hemifrån och sånt, jag hade inte så, jag tyckte det var kul och fantastisk chans för Martin och så vidare. Hans mamma däremot tyckte nog att det var lite jobbigare än vad jag tyckte det var.
I would definitely say she thinks it's hard that I moved out on such an early age. I think it's one of the bigger prices I had to pay for the reward of being a professional.
Så han tog ju tillvara på det. Sen så var han ju fortfarande kvar i skolan. Han gick första året på gymnasiet. Så han slutförde det första året och flyttade till Tyskland.
I mean, ever since I moved away from home, it's never really been like my mom has sympathized on we have to live here because of me, right? Because I'm only home for a few weeks anyways a year. And for me, home is not a special house or a special city, it's wherever she is.
Idag så ska vi ta färjan över till Sannegårdshamnen här i Göteborg. Vi har köpt en ny lägenhet som vi ska flytta till efter sommaren. Och Martin har inte sett området som lägenheten ligger i. Man kan ju ställa upp sig en båtplats också. Det skulle egentligen ha den. Och bakom den häcken där borta.
Busken?
Ja, rakt fram. På marknivå då. Och så har vi ju uteplats. Fönstret, tyvärr är sovrummet ut mot gatan.
Ja, just det kommer jag ihåg att du sa. Våran dörr är direkt här då. Till vänster.
Där inne i hörnet.
Okej.
Va?
Ja.
I don't live with my dad anymore, so it always feels like we have so much to talk about.
Kul med lite så här utmaningen med att ta in nya spelare och sådär. Det känns ju ändå som han saknades liksom. Ja. Jag träffade först och främst en tjej första dagen. Hon skulle åka hem på tisdagen. Jag kom på måndagen. Okej. Träffade en ny tjej på tisdagen. Som jag... Ja, alltså det kändes bara som att man träffade folk. Bor du själv eller bor du Fabian? Är det va? Och det är min.
He after all has a big role in my life in terms of the competitive side. The reason why my dad pushed me to be the best in whatever I did was because he had a similar childhood himself. I think it's actually quite hard for me to just do something for fun. I always try to be the best, and that's something that he brought on to me.
Martin har alltid haft en otrolig vinnarskalle. Han kunde bli rätt irriterad om inte man vann på träningen och de andra inte gjorde sitt bästa då. Martin har alltid gett allt han kan egentligen i alla idrott.
Ihågkommen på ett eller annat sätt.
Ja, blir du antagligen. Vad tror du?
Ja, om jag fortsätter prestera på internationella event så bör jag väl det.
Ja, det är klart det blir, herregud.
Men vill man ju vinna liksom. Vilken kostnad som helst.
Samma med spela fotboll, kommer du eller?
I would say when I started playing sports when I was, I guess, around 6-7, I wasn't like super duper good on it. I've never really felt like I've been the kind of talented sort of guy. I've always felt like everything that I've done has come with hard work.
När Martin var liten var han väldigt duktig på fotboll. Jag tror det var spelförståelsen och den har man sett nu via League of Legends också. Han vet exakt hur han ska agera i vissa situationer och det var likadant på fotbollsplan.
And it really felt like if this would continue this way in a year or two, I would really be somewhere.
I would say Martin took soccer 100% serious. Like his dad was very passionate and still is very passionate about it. We were pretty good. We used to play with the older kids.
Which was people up to 21, if I remember correctly. And at the time I was 13. The first time that my knee got shaken, or whatever you want to call it, it was when I was playing with 1 year older players.
It was an away game, not that far away from Gothenburg. A ball came, like a long ball, and he started running towards it, and then the goalkeeper started running out.
And he unfortunately fell in like a direction of my knee that it couldn't handle, and then it kind of just cracked sideways.
Everyone just stopped. Everyone just heard that Martin scream.
A week later, I was kind of desperate because I really wanted to get back into things.
He wanted to make a return as soon as possible, and then he got injured again.
It really felt like something cracked.
At the time, he just knew, like he could look at his knee, it was swollen, didn't look good at all.
I could barely move my knee, and then they said that I had a pretty serious knee injury and I needed to wait a year and a half after an operation to get back into things.
You can really see on his face whenever he gets emotional, and he just looked insanely sad because I'm pretty sure he knew that this will be a step backward.
Var Martin jätteledsen och frustrerad självklart, i och med att han visste ju att fotbollskarriären var ju den var ju borta under längre tid egentligen, det var minst 1 års.
Och under denna tiden så hittade han League of Legends via sin kompis Joel.
And I guess at the time I just really needed something to get away from everything.
We played Call of Duty together, and that was really fun. And then I switched to League. So when he got the injury, I wanted him to start playing the same game as me so we could play together.
My dream for football was to become the best. I don't really see there being any other goal. I don't see being average as a goal. I don't see being best in Sweden as a goal. It's either being the best in the world or nothing. Getting the injury was the hardest moment of my life. But then again, from bad things, good things arise.
因为和阿基打的这3场都是很高质量的对抗，而我作为 EDG 的指挥，就是我的脑袋是在游戏里面是无时无刻要去想东西的。当打完比赛的那一刻，我们赢的那一刻，就终于可以解脱了，可以放松下来了。刚刚建队的时候就都很坎坷嘛，然后状态的话也有起起伏伏。巅峰的时候也是拿到过 MSI 的世界冠军，然后低谷的时候也是在 IPL 也只拿到过殿军，也就是第4名。然后有很多人都觉得 EDG 在改变，但我觉得 EDG 还是以前的那个 EDG。之后 EDG 会变得越来越强的，我也会努力的提高自己，带着队伍去拿下就是 S 系列的冠军，完成我自己的目标。
Guardian Angel tried to be a frontline. Kenniff thought they found their window to fight when Kuro died, but Smeb showing what a late game rise can do.
18승 2패로 정규 시즌을 마무리한 것 같고 진짜 작년보다 너무 더 좋았어요. 기세가 절대 무너지지 않을 수 있다. 이번에 또다시 월드컵에 나가게 되면 그리고 또 결승전에 또 올라가게 된다면 SK랑 한번 다시 진짜 붙어보고 싶어요. 지금까지 너무 많이 당했잖아요, SKT한테. 그래서 가장 큰 무대에서 저희가 복수하고 싶어요.
Season 6 for Fnatic was, I would say, a tough split because they had to rebuild the lineup. When we came into playoffs and Fnatic came in as the lowest seed, it was surprising.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the European LCS. It's time for our match of the week between Fnatic and Origin for 4th place, and a world of difference between worlds and what is happening here on our stage. The top, it's already decided, and they're fighting for 4th.
And Origin ace Fnatic destroy the base and finish the spring split
look at the bracket, the playoff bracket, because it's filled in because of this, you actually push Fnatic to the 6th place. Fnatic now ends up playing Vitality.
Honestly, I can't even imagine myself not going to Worlds. I think it would actually be a worse moment in my life than getting injured.
För Martin är att givetvis att han någon gång ska lyckas nå målet, och målet för honom just nu är ju att vinna Worlds.
I think what I'm most proud of myself is my ability to jump back onto things. I started off my career with a really good couple of tournaments. I got the setback with the age restriction. I got back into things again. I think this is one of my stronger abilities as a player, but also as a person. It feels like throughout my life, especially starting at the injury, I've always been able to stand back up, and I think that's one of my biggest things I'm most proud of. But winning Worlds is definitely a dream, and I feel like I'm getting closer and closer every year. I believe in my teammates, I believe in myself, just as I did last year, so not getting to Worlds just doesn't feel like an option.